This is NTV.
Thanks our viewers for joining us this late Saturday evening. I'm Karagawa Baldwins and we're coming to you live from the Kampala International Conference Center, and we're going to be discussing business. It's a grave matter of concern here in this nation about the environment of business. And the World Bank recently made an issuance of an assessment of how Uganda is performing in this realm of the ease of doing business around, of course, in this entire region, the East African region. So for purposes of the discussion, to be given an overview, let's have this introduction done. Then we'll come back and go into the depth of the discussion.
The Ease of Doing Business Index was created by Simeon Djankov of the World Bank Group, premised on the academic research done jointly with Professors Oliver Hart and Andrei Shleifer. The report is used as a benchmark study of regulation, basing on a questionnaire designed by the Doing Business team with the assistance of academic advisors. The report is an initiative of the World Bank that ranks countries globally based on 11 indices to help investors make informed choices. The indices on which the report is compiled include access to credit, starting a business, paying taxes and getting electricity, among others. Uganda has dropped 5 places in the 2019 World Bank Ease of Doing Business report, falling from 122 last year to 127 in 2019. This year, Uganda ranked 127 out of 190 countries. In East Africa, Rwanda was ranked ahead of other member states at 29, followed by Kenya at 61. Tanzania came in at 144, while Burundi registered the worst performance at 168. Uganda, however, was ranked the worst in the Getting Electricity Index at 175, scoring 34%, a decrease from 2017, where it scored 34.1%. According to the report, to get electricity in Uganda, one undergoes 6 procedures against the sub-Saharan average of 5.2. The report says it takes an application about 112 days to be effected against the sub-Saharan average of 66. In the region, Rwanda ranked the best performer in acquisition of electricity at position 68. It beat Kenya, which stood at 75, while Tanzania and Burundi stood at 83 and 183 respectively. While Uganda scored 0 in its quality of power, Kenya tied with South Africa at 4 on the Quality Index. As a grave matter of concern, the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, URSB, in connection with NTV, bring you this vital discussion about the way forward on how to enhance Uganda's business environment. You're welcome.
And on social media, we posted a question to simply bring you into the studio discussion. And the question on Twitter and Facebook is, what's your view of Uganda's business environment? Do you see the government doing enough to support the competitiveness of this environment? And Heaven Material says that our government is destructive in a way. When you seem to earn off second-hand clothes, it will increase the taxes. And when youths are unemployed and they decide to earn off social media, it introduces OTT. Then CEO BROK, he says, not at all. The people in charge of implementing policy are only pushing their selfish interests. And on Facebook, just to also comments, Jocelyn Miranda says that no, it's instead worsening. Taxes are very high and this scares away investors. Then Mwalimu says from Serene, no support at all. That is your contribution already on social media. Please continue having your views posted as we co-engage here in studio. And straight away, I have a very resplendent panel with me of professionals and indeed experts in this field. At the extreme left, I have Andrew Bakiza, the chairman, Ease of Doing Business Committee in Uganda. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you, and good evening, viewers.
And right in the middle, our renowned Dr. Gideon Badagawa, the Executive Director, Private Sector Foundation, Uganda, PSFU. Dr. Gideon, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Baldwin, for hosting here.
Congratulations on becoming a doctor.
And, your prayers.
Yes.
A very good evening to everyone out there who is viewing us on this television.
And let me start with you, Andrew. So the index makes it very explicit that starting business, we are ranked 164th, a slight increment, rather improvement in performance, which for last year, the previous year was 165th, and dealing with construction permits, 145th, a decline from 144th. From 148th, not a decline, an improvement actually. So there, I think the statistics are just going to be laid out here on the screen. So help us understand why in 2 consecutive years we are actually poorly performing. This is quite embarrassing because this is the 3rd time we're discussing this report. Why is the performance not positive?
Yes, good evening, viewers, once again. On the performance and how it is rated on doing business. Of course, as has already been stated, Uganda, we didn't perform well in doing business in the 2 consecutive years. There is a number of reasons why we did not perform well. And in fact, while it is stated that we didn't perform well, in fact, we almost remained static because actually the actual marks we scored, which is 56, is the same we scored last year, except that maybe others scored better. It's like you are almost in the same position and people you're competing with are running faster than you are running. So it's not like you have stopped, but rather you are still running. However, we have a number of things we think we're doing which should bring us up. Yes, we were slowed down because we have usually legislative issues. It is generally slow to change a law. Most of these indicators, the 11 indicators as already stated, actually the one they score upon are 10. In the 10 indicators are the indicators which are targeting the regulatory framework, and others are looking at the service delivery. We get a challenge sometimes on those indicators which are legislative in nature because of our process of change of the law tend to take time. And some countries who started maybe a bit earlier have already managed to change. So while we seem not moving at the same rate, yes, we're still moving at the same speed, but our opponents or our colleagues have moved a bit faster. We are still very confident that we are catching up. Reason, all these laws where we need reforms are actually an amendment. In fact, to specifically state one of the laws, the security interest in movable property has been passed by the parliament. We expect to score much better based on that change. We have also a number of administrative reforms we have made, which are going to directly improve this. I'll give an example. We used to have around 6 processes in starting a company, registering a company. We have squashed them into 4. That is a big improvement. We also have a challenge of methodology, how World Bank does the assessment.
Yeah,
I'm not attacking it.
I'm going to come to that point because there's widespread criticism. Yes. So many economists and critics have come and made their own misgivings about the appropriateness and credence of this particular report. But for the case here, because there's a consistency of positive performance by other countries like Rwanda and Kenya. And I'm coming back to that. Let me first get in Dr. Badagawa. So, Doctor, there has to be somebody to blame to some extent about this underperformance. Of course, the starting of business process involves about 4 agencies, okay? You have URSB for incorporation of tax, rather of companies, URA for issuance of the tax identification numbers, KCCA or Ministry of Local Government for operating trading licenses, NSSF, all these agencies. So there has got to be somebody to take some blame here for this poor performance, negative, consistent 3-year negative performance in the business environment assessment?
You see, thank you very much, Baldwin. And I think if you're looking for the answer from me as to who to blame, you will not get it. I think the spirit of this report, the ease of doing a business report, and I really want to thank the World Bank and the government of Uganda and the business community who have cooperated to give us this report. You see, when the World Bank comes here to do this survey, they do the survey with the business community, not with government
itself, yes.
So when they're asking questions about how easy is it for you to pay taxes, for you to get a construction permit, for you to dissolve your business, and so on and so forth, they're actually engaging the business person. So they have cooperated to give us this report. And the idea of this report is really to compare notes. There is a top ranking, country like the Singapore, the New Zealand, and so on. And there are those that are at the bottom, like Somalia, like Eritrea, South Sudan, and so on. And the idea really for us in the region, like we have seen the ratings there, we are the third in the ESC.
But
Rwanda is coming back.
We've been consistently the third in that particular performance and regressive.
Yes.
Because if you can look at Rwanda in 2016, okay, was 56th. In 2017 was 41st. And I'm going to come back to you on that. Or in 2018, it's 17th, rather 27th. So you cannot have this. For Kenya, it was 92nd in 2016. In 2017, it was 80th. In 2018, 61st. Now Uganda was 115th in 2016, 122nd in 2017. Exactly, consistently regressive. So you cannot say that this is...
But there has been a time when we were 142. We came to 135. We came to 127, 122, and 115. There's something that we did there. And then we started to regress. For instance, like the case of the URSP, if you went there and looked at the amount of time, because we are talking about three things here, how long does it take you to start a business or register a business or get a business name with the URSP? How long does it take you to get a TIN number with the URA? How long does it take you to get a work permit, and so on and so forth? So we are talking about the cost, we are talking about the time, we are talking about the procedures. There are three things we are talking about here. For all the indicators, if it's a construction permit, how long does it take you? What is the cost? And so on and so forth. So if you're looking for someone to blame, and I don't want to point to anyone, because all of us are to blame. If it's Uganda, we are to blame. Why are we 127?
Yeah, those are the indices right on the screen, just to help us to understand what is going on.
So there are 10 indicators, as you can see them there. But as you have seen, one of the biggest reformers in Africa in terms of getting electricity is Kenya. Uganda has performed worst. You mentioned it at the beginning. Getting electricity, connecting electricity.
I'm coming to that, because Rwanda is even performing better,
yes,
which does not produce its own power.
You want to look at the governance,
yes.
You want to look at the institutions, you want to look at the regulations, you want to look at how they are enforced. Because you can have a law, you can have a policy, but it's not enforced. And then it cannot help the investor.
So we have a governance problem. I think for me, I'm getting where to blame. Let me get to Andrew. So just help us understand in just looking at the performance, consistent positive performance of Rwanda and Kenya. Do you agree that there are certain things that are doing better that Uganda actually needs to be able to co-opt to improve our own performance here?
Yes, thank you very much, Baldwin, once again. Yes, we have a number of things we think we can do. One of the things we should appreciate is that these reforms and improvement of these indicators, one need to understand what is the World Bank measuring. Actually, we do a number of things. I would give an example, and as I proceed on this, we actually register a company in 4 hours, but World Bank, when you see the report, it is 24 days. What do I mean? Because of how they calculate, how they assess the indicator, you can be seen to perform poorly, whereas not. I'm not saying this may be the case as such, but in some areas, yes, it is, as I've given one example. So when we're talking about what is our current score, actually it may not be so much direct to the service delivered. What is important to Uganda is say, right now, yes, we have been reforming, yes, we have been improving, but possibly we're improving in areas which are not assessed. We recently had a meeting with World Bank people say, okay, we do understand, this is what we've been doing. They say, we do appreciate, but this is one we are not the one we're assessing. So what do? Right now, we have realigned ourselves on top of improving those services that add value to the end user. We're also looking at what the World Bank is assessing, such that we do it in unison. And that should be able to push us a step ahead, both in service delivery and also looking at make sure that our ranking is so well rated. So the nations who are here are mentioned. What most of them they did, because we have done some of them benchmarking on this, they have focused on those exact assessment areas. It's like cramming exam, and then you hit it. So right now, for us, we're not going to cram. We're going to continue our effort in the provision of better services, but we also address those matters that the World Bank want to address.
Okay, and so it seems we are indirectly bashing the approach, as you said earlier on, the methodology of World Bank. And you're not alone in your criticism, because let me, at the issuance of this report, there's a critique column that was issued in the Economist news magazine. And one of the writers says that the reports do not match the actual experience of entrepreneurs, that they promote a mindless deregulation, which means that you have less regulations in the business sector, to the bottom, and that their methods are too unstable to allow. Just correlating, actually, just coherent with your criticism. So being that it is funded and spearheaded by the World Bank, there is an implicit bias towards extreme open market capitalism, which in turn provides more favorable landing for especially foreign investors. So what is the relevant? Do you feel that the World Bank report is of any help to the enhancement of the...
Baldwin, the point is this. The World Bank may be wrong on the methodology, but we need to accept that there is a problem that we must address, even without a report. There is a problem, glaring that there is a problem. If investors came to East Africa, and now we are marketing East Africa as one common investment destination, where do they go? If I'm a tourist, where do I go? If I'm an investor in the energy sector, where do I go? Where are the better regulations that investors want to work with, that are going to invite compliance? If I'm going to pay taxes across all these 5, and I want to invest in each one of them, where is it easiest? Because we are talking about the ease of doing business. Where is it easiest? So if someone compares Rwanda and looks at Kenya and looks at South Sudan and Uganda, they are going to take a decision. So certainly, if you look at the report, you may bash it, but certainly there are certain buttons that we must start to fix it. So if you are talking about starting a business, and someone is looking at Rwanda, where it takes only less than a day to start a business. And in one other country, it will take 3 months because of the procedures. You mentioned, because we were comparing ourselves against the average. Even in Africa, Africa's average, you have 30 procedures to start a business against Africa's average of 5.6. And when you look at Rwanda, there are only 4 procedures. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, if an investor came and they wanted an investment, they wanted an environment impact assessment, they wanted a work permit, they wanted a land title, they do a land search. How long is it going to take someone to do a land search?
How
they
much
wanted
does it cost?
To see how much cost, what is it that's going to cost them to connect electricity, that's going to cost them to get credit at 25%. If some other countries are giving it at 17%, where do you want the investor to go? Especially those that do not come with their own money. So you find that if these are the parameters that the World Bank is looking at, yes, there may be those where we have reformed, and these 11 fundamentally across all the 190 countries, they consider to actually be the core elements that any investor, whether local or foreign, that they are going to consider. I mean, if you look at interest rates, the cost of accessing credit. If you look at electricity, if you look at the cost of transport, moving across the borders. How easy is it? And clearly, if you look at some of these countries, we have been able to make attempts to ease the movement of goods and persons across the borders.
Okay.
We have had the one-stop border post in Malaba. We have had the single customs union. We have had the electronic cargo tracking system. We have had a number of reforms that have been done. And that is one of the reasons, actually, if you look at 2-3 years ago, we were rated very well at 115 because we did 3 things. We improved, we had good reforms in trading across borders. We had good reforms in starting a business. We had good reforms in paying taxes. If you look at the efficiency with which now URA is moving, tax administration, you know, the education of the taxpayer on how to do the e-tax, how to pay taxes using, now they are on online. They are using, instead of having to submit your returns on a hard copy, you are now using online systems. You can use the payway, you can use the mobile money, you can use all these other things. And the reason, again, part of the reason probably that we are sleeping this year is because of the mobile money tax, which made it a little bit difficult then for people to be able to engage.
And I think the public is now getting to appreciate the
Who to blame.
Exactly. And our viewers, let me just take a break. The discussion is going on even on social media. I'm going to cite out some of your comments in correspondence to this discussion in the studio. Let's go for a break and then we'll come back and continue. And thanks for welcome back to this discussion, to this live broadcast from the Serena International Conference Center. I'm Karagao Bodwins, and we're discussing the World Bank's report, which is international. It looks at 190 economies. And Uganda is ranked 127th out of those 190 economies in how the country performs in the environment of business. And we posted a question on social media handles and asked you, what do you think the government is doing in enhancing this environment? And I can see that Aria Zanda is putting the blame. Actually, for now, we cannot expect anything good in the regime. Then government is doing the right thing. This is LK Brand putting the blame on media. It's you media trying to divide people. Honestly, I think we are trying to facilitate the betterment of this economy. So the itching area of electricity, Andrew, you can see the index that getting electricity in 2017 was, for Uganda, was 173rd. It has dropped to 175th. Just the higher the number is, the poorer the performance. And registration of property, 124th. It's now gone worse to 126th. Rwanda is ranked 68th. Kenya is ranked 75th. Uganda is ranked, of course, 175. That is in electricity. What is the issue here? We have this narrative that actually Uganda's electricity sector is performing very well, but now in the ease of doing business, it seems to be shockingly embarrassing.
Yes, thank you very much. Again, like many other indicators, we do realize that we slid in doing electricity. The World Bank assesses on how fast do you get electricity when you apply for it. And as of this, the challenge, of course, which Meme would express much better, but the challenges of electricity, which have been ongoing, is not that actually it has slid, as I earlier stated. It's like we are still in the process of trying to improve this. We are aware of this challenge of delays. Some areas are due to the legal framework in place and also the operational challenges. We are trying to see how we move. We have not slid because we have performed poorly, actually. We have slid because our competitors have made the reforms on their side, which have made them move much ahead of us. So we are.
But Andrew, let me give you a personal experience. Yes. Let me just be very personal. I was getting power for my property.
Yes.
Okay. As an individual, just as an ordinary citizen, I was getting power. Yeah. It took Umeme 2.5 months to get a pole to my home. The reason they are giving that there were no poles in Uganda, that there were delays in the procurement from somewhere. Is it South Africa? So me as an ordinary citizen, not just doing business, I'm getting that inconvenience. Are you aware of that kind of problem? Procurement?
Yes, it happens, and we're not going to say everyone has experienced this, and we are aware of that. All this has been brought to the authority. Umeme is aware of this. In fact, last week we had the task force for the ease of doing business on this. This is one of the matters which was brought to the attention of Umeme, and Umeme has given a clear framework and roadmap on addressing these matters. So yes, we are aware of it, and actually this is being
okay, so that is a clear area of deficiency in performance. Now, yes, Doctor, just shortly, because I need to have you respond to this other question.
Maybe just quickly to add to what Andrew just said. I think on average it takes about 3.5 months in Uganda to connect electricity.
Which is
about
awfully
3.5 months.
long.
And that
awfully long. Those are 100 days.
Compare favorably with Rwanda's 3 weeks.
Which doesn't have electricity generation, doesn't electricity transmission. Yes.
Yeah, but I think one of the biggest challenges that we have is not the availability of the electricity, but the transmission infrastructure. You know, getting the electricity to where the users are and connecting them. And I think that is what REA now is trying to grapple with. So once we are fixed on transmission infrastructure and getting the connections right, which World Bank again is helping us to do, then maybe this rating will improve. Okay,
so let's talk about the registration of property and enforcement of contracts, which is another area where we underperformed. 2017, registration of property was 124th, 2018, 126th. Enforcement of contracts, that's in, of course, business conflict, dispute resolution in courts. 64th, now we are 71st. What is being done to improve these areas? These two areas, enforcement of contracts and registration of property, in as much as there's a deterioration in performance.
You know, when I look at registration of property, and especially land, I think government has done what it takes to quickly do a land search, you know, in terms of installing the systems and getting these systems work. That has been done. If you went to the land office, especially the 3 or 4 around us here, Mukono, Kampala, Wachiso, they are really up and running. But the challenge is, when these people come, and as I said at the beginning, when they come and they are asking how easy it is, they are not asking government or the Ministry of Lands where these systems have been fixed. They are asking the investor, the lawyer, who is going through the pain of the procedures and the cost where they have to pay the money and so on and so forth. And they are telling them the systems are not working. And when we did a quick research on our side, it seems to be more on the human resource than on the systems. The systems are perfect, but the human resource that are sitting behind these systems are not as fast. So people still want to hide the files down the tables. They still want to hide this and the other. But the systems, once you pick those files and put in the data, they will give you a land search within a day. It is possible to do that.
Just getting the plot number and the block number.
As long as, and all the systems, we have done this at the land information, you know, land information center. And it works because I have personally tested it. You go there with your land title, you want to establish the ownership of this title, because that's what the investor will do. They come here, you want to partner with them, you're saying you have these 3 acres, they are mine, and so on and so on. They want to go and do a land search. And when they get there, and they are being bounced, and come back again, bounced and come back. And every time you come back, it's another procedure. Every time you come back, it's another procedure. And that's why you hear of the 50 procedures in getting a land search or something done. So once you have keyed in all the plot numbers, the block, and so on and so forth, it should be able to return and say, this belongs to so and so.
Okay.
Within minutes.
Okay. Andrew, just for purposes of ensuring that, you know, we attribute the importance of your partnership with this show, what does URSB, what is URSB responsibility in this whole indice compilation that this report talks about? How does URSB facilitate this environment to be eased in doing business in Uganda?
Yeah, thank you very much, Bodwin, once again. Yes, URSB is spearheading a number of reforms. In fact, is a key leader in these reforms within, and of course, collaborating with other ministries, departments, and agencies. We call them MDAs. We, as URSB, among others, we also doing the actual reform, leave alone the spearheading of a number of reforms and being the lead organization, is also doing specific reforms. Some reforms are directed straight to the World Bank ease of doing business, but other reforms are directed to the service to that business person. I'll give an example. This week, we launched a use of the one-page memorandum and articles of association. This is in a line of easing starting a business
for company registration.
For company registration. So we have this form online. So you simply download it, fill it, and register a company. You do not need any support. Any person who can manage to read actually can
no lawyer, there. No what.
This helps both on our side, the road, so we are going to serve you faster, and also helps you as the business person. It's cheaper for you, and it is more convenient for you. So we are carrying in a series of reforms. That's one of them, but we are carrying a number of reforms. So we are both reformers. We are also spearheading. We collaborate with this team. We carry out workshops with these departments or institutions of government in order to look at the ease of doing business.
Yes. Now, just on these 10 indices, starting a business is done by you, URSB.
Yes.
So starting a business registration, the issues of...
if I could elaborate.
Yes. Just like a minute, please. Just because I wanted to know what you're responsible for. Starting a business, dealing with construction permits, of course, that's not you. Getting registration, registering property, getting credit. Wow.
Getting credit, again, it comes to
then resolving insolvency.
Yes.
Okay.
So we handle...
Just a minute. Yes.
We handle 4 indicators. Starting a business, access to credit, resolving insolvency, and protection of minority shareholders. Yes. So if I could briefly state the challenges on each of the indicator and what we have done. Starting a business, one of the challenges are the number of procedures. They say it takes 13 procedures and it takes 24 days. As of now, we have squashed those procedures to 5, okay, from 13. The actual time taken and at least for business registration is 4 hours. If you put in getting the TIN and registering with the RA, you could push it maximum to 3 days, but not 24 days. That one again was squashed. We have talked to World Bank. They said that whereas we did, they may not have captured this, but we expect it to come out in the next
report. So when 2020 comes, I'm here to make sure that I will be looking keenly to see whether the improvement.
Yes.
Now I need to. I know you wanted to.
If I could go to the next indicator.
Just 30 seconds, kindly, because I need to get into a break. 30 seconds.
Yes. We have access to credit. This one we handle it with the Bank of Uganda. It is about giving information to the creditor in order to make it easy to extend a loan to whoever wants it.
And exactly that's what I'm going to come to. I will post that fair question to Dr. Badagawa because he's directing that business area. Interest rates are killing the business community. And it doesn't seem to be that the efforts being done are actually heeded to by commercial banks. And thanks our viewers for keeping with us. Let me go just for a short break and we'll be right back to conclude this discussion. Sorry.
No idea.
So I think...
Okay, the traps.
Yes. I hope we're not still on air. I think we're still on air. Thanks for continuing with us. I'm Karagawa Baldwins, and we are discussing the ease of doing business report that is issued annually by the World Bank, of course in conjunction with the government of Uganda, and here for this show that we're running in conjunction with URSB. On that very same question, what do you think is being done in order to improve this environment? I see Don Semalulu Emmanuel says that instead of businesses competing with fellow businesses, government is competing with them. Then George says nepotism and favoritism. For us, we are discussing very interesting indices here and getting to Dr. Badagawa straight. You have the index of getting credit and paying taxes, and still the performance is negative. Okay, it's regressive, not negative necessarily. Well, we have a serious effort that is being communicated by government, that government keeps on, putting pressure on Bank of Uganda to reduce the CBR, the borrowing rate to commercial banks, but commercial banks never reduce their interest rates. And it seems government is not willing to confront this banking sector to ensure that credit provision that is reasonable is done to the business community, and then yet we are crying about these particular indices.
No, you're right. This is quite a challenging area. If you are going to do business in Uganda and you're borrowing money at 25%, there is no business, at least so far as I know, that can give you a return on investment as high as 25% to warrant borrowing from the commercial banks today here in Uganda. So for me, it's possibly one of the reasons that, because the interest rates have remained high, it's one of the reasons that we have been rated so badly in that area. But why is this? And therefore, what can we do? One of the reasons is that those that are going to borrow are very risky. So the risk premium is very high. Two, the treasury bill. We are competing. Someone just said we are competing. Government is competing with business, with the private sector.
Because the treasury bill will give you an interest rate to the commercial bank that of about 10 to 15%.
Yes.
So if the commercial bank finds that 10-15% is what the government is giving, definitely it will not give to an ordinary person.
Yes.
Which is really sad.
We really need to zero down on government to reduce their domestic borrowing requirement. That has to come down. We have been given hope that will come down after the oil roads have been done. So hopefully maybe it will come down. But that really has a big chunk in the interest rate, because you are not lending anyone else, but you're putting this money to government. So you are crowding out everyone who would want to borrow money to invest. Then three are the overheads. Every one of us knows. Of course, when you say overheads, not only for banks, it's for the telecom, it's for everyone else. It's for the Chikubo people, overheads, the electricity, the roads, the bad roads, the access. It's costly to get across and do business. Of course, that is being addressed if we look at the infrastructure, if you look at the energy and so on and so forth. That is being addressed. But four, what banks are also saying is that there is a challenge on the cost of money. You see, they are not getting this money from the Bank of Uganda. So even when the CBR goes down, you don't expect them to reduce their interest rates. Because I think the illusion has been that when the governor brings down the CBR, then we should expect the bank to come down. That does not follow. Actually, the interest rates are not benchmarked on the CBR. That's what we've been told by the commercial banks, because they are getting their monies from different areas at 6%, at 8%, at 4%, at 3%, depending on where they get the money. And then 5, there is a markup, because they are in business. They have to make a profit. So the 25% is lumped that way. But the most important thing that we can do to bring this down, because we don't expect government to intervene and cap the rates like it was in Kenya. And we know what happened in Kenya later. So government cannot come in to say interest rates will be 14%.
Yeah,
so we really need to do a lot of financial literacy to bring down the risk premium, so that when you borrow money, you pay back. When you pay back, if you look at the prime borrowers, they are picking money at 18%, as against 25%. If you and I maybe I'm a prime one.
Yeah, no, obviously.
If you went to the bank, you'll pick money at 24% or 25%. If an entrepreneur, a renowned entrepreneur in town, went to pick money from any bank, they will give this money at 17, 18%, because they know he will
the
pay
profile
back.
of the person.
So the profile of the person matters a lot. Maybe that is not the case in Kenya. Maybe that's not the case in Rwanda. So they are rated better than we are rated.
Okay, and just because of our time, Andrew, I need us to just get back to ground, the authenticity of the experience down there by businesses, especially in the issue of fuel cost. High taxation, yet you're having high interest rate, also provision. So many things that are squeezing the business person, that this entrepreneurial spirit that we have is actually sabotaged by the environment that we are talking about, perhaps even by government, as he was insinuating. What do you think, just as in a philosophical advisory manner, and in this particular field, what needs to be done to ensure that even such? Should fuel also actually, by the way, be involved in these indices?
Thank you very, very much. What we looking at mainly in ease of doing business, and obviously it will affect many other areas, is that do reforms that will help the end user on both cost, manage the cost of doing business, manage the time taken to operate or do business. So the reforms, much as they may not be specific on, say, fuel, as you said, they are quite broad, but eventually they indirectly or directly affect that. So what is important is government, one, to carry out these reforms expeditiously. Two, these reforms should be well sensitized to the public. One of the challenges we have is that the public is not aware sometimes of the reforms, is not aware of the services. As for example, I gave an example of one-page memorandum and articles of association. If you are not aware, you still pay higher to register the old one. So there are some reforms done, but the public is not aware. And this is one of the things we are doing, why we come here, to try and tell the public that we are doing a number of reforms to ease their doing the business and take advantage of those reforms in place to do business. So the government is, if the government, I'm using the institutions in the reforming area, are doing so much in the line of trying to make sure that you ease the doing business. I would give an example just for this. Say you are SB, you are a KCC, a Minister of Local Government, and they have come together and made what they call TRIP, the Tax Payer Register Expansion Program. It's a program purely meant to ease the start of business. So you go to one place or one person, you have your business registered, your company registered, you have your TIN number provided, you have your tax paid to KCCA. Just one interface, all is done. This is where we are going. We are also now going online a number of these areas. We want you to sit at the comfort of your place, of your home. You submit and you get all what I've already said, the company registered, the TIN, and your license. You pay online. So we are having so much we are doing, which eventually eases this and to reduces the tax. Formalization of the business. The moment you formalize a business, one, you get so much by formalizing. You access to credit. Banks want to deal with a legal entity. They don't want to deal with you as an individual. Formalize the business. You have your products. The issue of having counterfeit, you manage it. How? Because you can register this product, you are a legal entity, you come, we have intellectual property department, you register your product, and you are able to be protected. So all these areas are directly or indirectly intertwined and worked upon so that it is doing business. Okay,
brilliant. They said hopefully it will facilitate a better performance next year. Dr. Badagawa, just 30 or 40 seconds. I anoint you to be a prophet now. Prognosticate about the performance. It's coming. Just in 40 seconds, please. We need to wrap up.
I proclaim that the good times are ahead of us.
The rating will come from 127 to
yes.
7. Okay.
Let me tell you, Baldwin, why I'm so hopeful. 1/3 of the total reforms in the ease of doing business reform have actually been in Africa. And if you look at Uganda and look at all these indicators, land, what is happening in land, we have already digitized quite a significant amount of land titles in this country already. So that if you went and wanted to do a land search, it is very easy for you. It is very easy for you to establish who owns which piece of land and so on. And it's going across the country. We have now opened ministerial zonal offices. They are helping our people. They don't have to come to Kampala to check their land titles and so on. Someone can be in Mbale, they can be in Lira, they can be anywhere and do that. That is a reform. If you looked at the TREPs, these guys have collaborated. URSB, URA, and KCCA they have a program on the tax register expansion. And they are trying to register someone to get someone to get that person easily acquire a TIN number and be able to have a license as they start business at the same time within. So they are registered. They are actually helping us to formalize the informal economy, which is very important to broaden the tax base. These are reforms that are happening. Yeah. We are now constructing a business facilitation center, which is going to house a one-stop shop. A one-stop center where all these, the NEMAs, the immigration, the UIA, the URSB, the capital market, everyone is going to be in one building. If an investor came, they do not have to fly from immigration to go to lands, to go to NEMA, to go to, all over the place looking for.
But that center has been promised, I think, from 2012 for quite a long time.
Yes, and lastly,
yes,
it's not enough to have a physical infrastructure in form of a building. Where reforms have happened, like in Rwanda, Mauritius, and so on, they are talking about e-government. E-government, where all these institutions are connected online. So the processes are online. If you wanted a license, you get it online. You don't interface with someone who is going to pick a bribe from you.
Yes.
So it's online, and that's how you build efficiency. If you went to Rwanda, that's what is happening. If you went to Ethiopia, that's what is happening. And I think it can happen here.
Dr. Badagawa Gideon, the Executive Director, PSF Uganda, and Andrew Bakiza, Chairman, Ease of Doing Business Committee, URSB. You've been resplendent in this discussion. I hope also the audience will appreciate the same. And thanks our viewers for keeping with us. Indeed, this has been a splendid discussion, and thank you for your contribution via our social media handles. We continue to urge you as corporate entities, government, MDS, please come talk to us, talk to our our managing director here, come talk to me, or our sales team will have a comprehensive discussion customized to a topic of your interest and to the public interest. Thank you. Have a great night.